All right, guys, so the first one on here is done for you. So 0.2 to the 5th power is the next one. So that means 0.2 is being multiplied out 5 times. 3, 4, 5. Okay. A little trick with these ones is that you could just kind of ignore the fact that it's a decimal. Just multiply the 2 out 5 times and then figure out the decimal part at the end, okay? So if I just do like 2 multiplied out 5 times, so 2 to the 5th power is what?
10.
No? Remember 2 times, so 2 times 2 is what?
4.
4 times 2?
8.
8 times 2?
16.
16 times 2?
32.
32. Okay, so at 32. And then remember that the rule when you're multiplying decimals is that for their answer, you just have to have the same number of numbers after the decimal that the problem has, okay? So if we look at the problem, how many numbers come after a decimal point?
1.
1 in each, right? But there's how many total? 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total numbers that come after a decimal point in the problem. So that means I need to have 5 total numbers coming after a decimal point here. If I need to add more numbers, what do I add? 0, yep. So I'm going to have my decimal point, and how many zeros do I have to add? 3, yep. So 3 zeros, and then my 3, 2, to make 5 total numbers coming after the decimal point. Okay? Make sense? Okay. All right, so now 2/3 to the 3rd power, so I'm going to have 2/3 expanded out 3 times. 2/3 times 2/3 times 2/3. We just went over how to multiply fractions. Just because there's more than 2 doesn't mean anything changes, okay? So just multiply all the top straight across. So it's 2 times 2 times 2.
8.
8, yep. And then 3 times 3 times 3? 27, yeah. 27. All right, 3 to the 4th power, so we're going to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. All right, what's 3 times 3? 9. A little trick. You don't necessarily have to keep going in order like that. Multiplication is one of those where you can do it out of order. So if this is a 9 and this is a 9, then what's 9 times 9? 81. Yep. And then the last one, 0.5 to the 3rd. We have 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5. Same thing as the other decimal one we did. So if you just do 5 times 5 times 5, so if you do just 5 to the 3rd, what's that going to be? Yeah, 125. And then how many numbers need to come after the decimal? 3. And we have 3 numbers there. So if you make 0.125. Good? Any questions? Cool. All right. So this lesson is order of operations. So your objective is students will be able to use the order of operations to evaluate expressions. And I'm going to kind of like color code the steps today versus like changing colors for every chunk or like every example. So like parentheses is going to be one color, exponents will be another color so that you guys can see in the steps like where we're at. Okay? If colors help you, if they don't, then hopefully they don't bother you, but they definitely help me. All right, so a couple of vocab things, just as we kind of come across them. Expressions. That's one of those words that you hear a lot in math class, right? Just expression. An expression is like, not the opposite, but it's like the sibling to equation, Okay? What does an equation have that an expression does not have? Uh-huh. An equal sign, exactly. So, take an equation, take away the equal sign, all of a sudden it's an expression. So it's like it's the same deal. We don't just use them whenever we want, but it's like the same thing. Okay. Evaluate. So we use that word anytime you see that we're evaluating something. Typically, what that means is you have a variable. We all know what variables are, right? Like letters. You have a variable. You're being told what number that variable stands for. So now you have to figure out what that whole expression, like what it equals. Okay. Okay, cool. So, order of operations, just go down the list real quick. There's 4 steps to order of operations. It looks like there's more than that. Looks like there's 6, but there's actually only 4, okay? So the first one is parentheses. And you go inner to outer. And this one actually, it's not really parentheses. It's all grouping symbols. So I had a friend teacher who instead of saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, he would say, gotta excuse my dear Aunt Sally, because it's technically grouping. It's parentheses, it's brackets, it's anything that groups things together. So absolute value would be in that category. And also, one that kind of messes people up, fractions are kind of in that category. So fractions themselves are division, but when you have a big fraction, there is implied grouping on the top, grouping all the stuff in the numerator together, and on the bottom, grouping all the stuff in the denominator together. Okay, so you have to get those down to one number first before you can finish it off with that division. Okay, and then we had a question about when do you use parentheses versus when do you use brackets. The reason why we use both is because if I have a big long thing and it's parentheses inside of parentheses inside of parentheses, on both ends, it's kind of hard if they're all the same to know like what end goes with what end. So you kind of alternate. You'll do parentheses, and then you'll do brackets, and then parentheses. So you can kind of pinpoint like which ends match up together. Okay? This is a visual thing, is all it is. Okay, and then exponents go next. So I'm going to do that in green. Okay, multiplication and division are going to be in blue. So this is all one step. Okay? This is all one step. Multiplication and division are completely equals to each other, and you always go left to right. Whatever comes first, left to right. You do not always do the multiplication first and then the division. It's whatever comes in order. And then last, same exact thing with addition and subtraction. They're complete equals to each other. You just go left to right. I literally could not get these questions right most of the time until I started teaching this. And I realized it's because my teacher never taught us the left to right thing. So they taught us to do all the multiplication first, then all the division. And we just kept getting them wrong, and they just like weren't worried about it. And then I finally learned how it's supposed to go. So just keep that in mind. All right. So we're going to do ones that are already all numbers first, and then we're going to move into variables and having to substitute in numbers for them, and then we're going to do the harder version of that. Same thing, okay? So for problem 1, what is the simplified form? So first we're going to start with parentheses and know the difference between parentheses that are grouping and parentheses that are just there for like multiplication or because there's a negative in front, or those kind of parentheses, like the visual ones, okay? So here, first step, do I have anything inside parentheses to be simplified? Yes, what do I have? Yep, 6 times 2. So what's that going to be? Yep, 4 to the third divided by 2. So now do we notice that those parentheses are now just like parentheses because of that exponent? They're not actually parentheses that we have to actually do anything with now? Yeah? Okay. So parentheses are done, so now we got to do exponents. So we have one exponent, 4 to the third power. What's that going to be? I don't know what that calculator said. So what's 4 times 4? 16. So now we just got to figure out 16 times 4. So what's 16 times 2?
76.
32. What's double that? 64, yep. So this is going to be 64 divided by 2. Okay, so that's all our exponents. Now you're going to do multiplication and division left to right, whatever comes first. We only have one. What's 64 divided by 2? 32. Okay, so as far as calculators and this goes, and I'll let you guys know what the deal with the calculator for the test and stuff, but the way that calculators should be used for this section is to do the simple single things, like 4 to the third power, just figuring out what that is, okay? They should not be used to plug the entire thing in and try to get an answer, because a lot of times how things are written on paper and how things have to get plugged into a calculator are different, so you won't get the right answer, okay? So just be careful. Use it if you want for just the little things like that, single steps, but not for whole plugins, okay? All right, for B, so this is kind of what I was talking about with the grouping. So technically, there's grouping on the top and on the bottom in fractions like that. So the whole top, everything, all that's part of the numerator, it's grouped together. So in order to do this fraction, do that division, you're going to have a single number on the top and a single number on the bottom. So that's why that's kind of included in grouping, okay? So we're going to be within parentheses, like the grouping stuff for this whole time. But, yeah, okay. So within parentheses, we have our own little set of order of operations. So next would be exponents, right? So it's to the fourth. Yeah, so 16 minus 1 up top. And then we would do multiplication and division left to right. Do we have any multiplication or division in the top or the bottom? No, right? We do have division right here. That fraction is division, but we can't touch that yet because we're still in the grouping, okay? So we don't have any in there. Addition, subtraction we can do. 16 minus 1 is 15. So then we would be done with like the grouping step, and we would continue. So then with what we have left going on, exponents, we don't have anything. Multiplication and division we do. 15 divided by 5 is what? 3. Yep. So that's going to be our answer. So within each parentheses step, there's like a whole nother set of the order of operations within there, okay? So kind of just keep that in mind. That can get tricky. Any questions? If you're good, go ahead and move on to the next one. So you're going to try the got it problems, and then we'll go over them. me suddenly. Normally you can like sign the trackpad, but it's like broken, so you have to like hold it, and it like tries to copy your signature, and it is not doing it right. Okay, are we done? Ready to go over it? Okay, and then don't forget the homework worksheet is like right after the notes. So if you want to kind of, if you're waiting and you're done, then you can just kind of start that and then come back when we go over it. Okay. All right. So this one. All right, for A, so we're do our grouping. Do I have anything with parentheses or grouping on A? No. All right, and then so next would be exponents. Do I have exponents?
Yes.
Yes, so I have that right there. So it'd be 5 times 7 minus, what's 4 squared? Yep, 16. No more exponents? Okay, so next you do your multiplication and division from left to right, whichever order it comes in. So, starting with the left, we have 5 times 7, which is what?
35.
Yep, 35. And we have a 16 divided by 2. 8, yep. And now that that's done, you have your addition and subtraction. 35 minus 8 is 27. Yeah. All right, good. All right, next one. Parentheses, nope. Exponents, nope. Multiplication and division, yes. This division right here. So 12 minus, what's 25 divided by 5? 5. And finish with addition, subtraction. What's 12 minus 5? 7, yeah. All right, this one, so we have implied grouping here. So within our grouping step, we are going to start with exponents. We do have exponents 3 to the 4th, so what's that? 81. And on the bottom, we don't have exponents. Okay, then still within our grouping category, we would do multiplication and division. There's no multiplication or division in those, so no. And then addition, subtraction, we do have that. What's 4 plus 81? 85. 7 minus 2? 5, yep. Okay, so that's your whole just parentheses step, okay? Then from there, you would do any exponents, which we don't have. Multiplication and division, we do have. 85 divided by 5 is what? 17. All right, are we okay there? Yeah? Okay. So now we are going to go through and do ones where you have variables and you're having to substitute numbers in. And we're going to do 2 examples of that. One where everything that you're substituting in is positive. Those are simpler. Then when you start substituting in negatives, so you guys can see where the mistakes can happen from there, okay? The biggest thing that I need you guys to be on board with is you've got to put parentheses around everything you substitute in. You just have to do it, okay? Because you'll see when it turns negative how it can get messed up. All right, so let's start with this one. So we have x is 5 and y is 2. So let's go through and just plug those values in. Go slow so you don't plug in the wrong number. Parentheses for everything though. So x is 5, so 5 squared plus another 5 minus 12 divided by y, which is 2, squared. So the parentheses will go around only the number you're plugging in. It doesn't go around the exponents or anything like that. Just around whatever the letter was. And then from there, some of your parentheses are still going to be necessary, like the ones with the exponents on them. Some of them are not going to be necessary anymore, like this one. So you can, as you go, just kind of drop the ones that aren't necessary anymore, okay? So here, so we do parentheses first. Do we have anything inside of parentheses that needs to be done? No. So those parentheses are only like to hold that number together, not actual parentheses for this. So then exponents, I do have those. So what's 5 squared? 25 plus 5 minus 12 divided by 2 squared, which is 4. Then would come your multiplication and division step, left to right. Don't have any right there or there. Ooh, I do have that though. So that's not going to be minus 12. It's going to be minus, what's 12 divided by 4? 3. Yep. And then last, we're going to do our addition and subtraction. Left to right, what's 25 plus 5? 30 minus 3, which is 27. Yep. All right. For the next one, whenever you have two variables next to each other like that, like let's say that was like a 4 and a 5. So would that be 45? No, right? I've gotten that before on a quiz, so that's why I'm asking. What are happening between those two? Huh? They're multiplying. Good. So when you plug them in, I like to add a little multiplication dot in there. Okay. So inside the parentheses, you're gonna have. Technically, you would put another parentheses in there. The only time you really need to do that is if you have like an exponent happening in there, then you got to put parentheses around whatever has the exponent, but otherwise you don't need them, okay? So here I'm going to have 5 times 2 squared divided by 5 times 2. All right, we do have stuff in parentheses that needs to happen, right? Just the multiplication. So what's 5 times 2? 2. Yep, so it'd be 10 squared divided by 10. So now, these parentheses are still necessary because you have an exponent on it. These parentheses are no longer necessary because it's just by itself. So you can, as you go, just kind of drop those ones off, okay? So now exponents. 10 squared is 100 divided by 10. Then our multiplication and division will finish off the problem. What's 100 divided by 10? Good. Make sense? Okay. Biggest mistakes I see on these problems are from, one, trying to put the whole thing in the calculator and get the answer. You're not going to get the answer. I promise you, the ones that are on the test are made so that's not going to happen, okay? 2, trying to go too fast and do things as you see them instead of the order, okay? That can mess you guys up. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So just go slow, even though it kills you. All right, go ahead and try the got it ones, and then we'll check our answers. All right, are we ready? Yep, all done. Okay. All right, so let's plug those in. 3 and 4. So and also what I notice, people will plug the wrong number in for the wrong letter. Sometimes too, so just slow down. Okay, just double check. So it'll be 3 times b, which is 4, minus a, which is 3, squared. So make sure it looks just like that. We don't have anything in parentheses. We do have an exponent. 3 squared is what? 9. Okay, multiplication, division. 3 times 4 is what? 12. Yep, and then you'll finish that off with your addition and subtraction. 12 minus 9. All right, any questions on that one? Cool, all right. Let's put this one. So you have 2 times b, which is 4, squared, minus 7 times a, which is 3. This, I see a lot of people make mistakes here because people really want to multiply the 2 and the 4 together right there, okay? But you can't do that because it has to go in order. So for parentheses, nothing. Exponents, we have an exponent right there. What's 4 squared? 16. So make sure you put like a star next to that exponent has to go first. You can't multiply. Okay, multiplication and division. 2 times 16 is what? 32 minus 7 times 3? 21. And then you can do your addition and subtraction. 32 minus 21 is 11. Good? Cool. All right, so we're going to do one more example, and this time we're going to be plugging in numbers that are negative. So you guys can see kind of what the deal with that is, because the chances that you'll get the answer wrong goes up way more whenever you're plugging in negatives because of parentheses. Okay? All right, so let's go to this last one. All right, so you have x is negative 2 and y is 3. It is crucial that you put parentheses around the numbers you're plugging in always, but especially negatives, okay? So you plug this in, x squared, which is negative 2, so negative 2 in parentheses, squared, plus negative 2 in parentheses, minus 18, divided by y squared, y is 3 in parentheses, like that. If you have your own calculator, go ahead and get it out. If you don't, either run and grab one super fast or just look off somebody's, so you just have to look at something for 2 seconds, okay? You don't necessarily need your own. All right, if you're using a scientific calculator, like this, your buttons, so first thing, your negative button is down here. Okay, it's not the same as the subtract button, so be aware of that. Parentheses are right up here, and then you have 2 buttons to use for exponents. There's this button right here, this x squared button. That is only going to give you a squared, an exponent of 2. Okay, it's like a shortcut. If you need to use an exponent that's not 2, you'll use the one right above it, and that will let you put in whatever you want to have for the exponent. Okay, so we're just going to just do this part because I want to show you guys the importance of parentheses. Okay, so if I put parentheses around it, so I would do parentheses, negative 2, parentheses, and you could either do this button for the squared since it's a power of 2, and it'll look like that, and we get 4, okay? Or you could do parentheses, negative 2, parentheses, use your exponent button right here, and then hit the 2, and that'll also insert a power of 2. Okay, so that way you can use that for if you have a 5 or whatever you have for the exponent. And we get pressed. Oh my gosh. I pressed clear instead of enter. Okay, so we get what? 4. Now, I want you guys to do it, but take away the parentheses. So on a calculator or look off somebody's while they do it. Take away the parentheses. There's some over there if you guys need to, if you want to grab one and use it. And if you're using those calculators, your buttons are the same. They're just a little bit of a different place. So for the graphing ones, your negative is still down here. It's just your exponent, the squared button is right here still, but your exponent button you can use for anything is over on this side under the clear. Okay, that one just moved over here, but otherwise it's the same. Okay, did anybody get anything? Take away the parentheses. So do the same thing, -2 squared, but don't put parentheses around it. So what do you get? -4. We talked about this at the beginning of the year, right? That parentheses versus no parentheses, your calculator doesn't know what to do with that negative. It gets confused. So it's crucial that you put parentheses around that so that you're not getting the wrong answer every single time when you do one of these, right? So parentheses, we didn't have anything. That's our exponent step. So -2 with parentheses squared, we know is +4. You can keep this doesn't have an exponent right here, so if you want to keep it as a plus parentheses -2, you can. I'm just going to make it -2. -18 divided by, what's 3 squared? 9, yeah. Okay, then multiplication and division. We only have the one division right there. What's 18 divided by 9? Yep, 2. And then everything we have left is addition, subtraction. So 4 minus 2 is? 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay. Got it? Okay, and then this last one. Again, here technically you should be putting its own parentheses around each number in those parentheses, but since there's no exponents directly on the variable, then you can get away with not doing it because you have the bigger parentheses before the exponent, okay? So here you're going to have -2 times 3 with the exponent on the outside. -2 times 3. Okay, we do have a parentheses step. We have stuff in there. So what's -2 times 3?
6.
Yeah. Parentheses, -6. Keep the parentheses. Don't get rid of them. I wouldn't get rid of these either, even though it doesn't have an exponent, because otherwise that's going to look like a weird division or subtraction thing, not a negative. Okay, exponents, what's -6 squared with parentheses? 36, yeah.
Would it be negative?
It would be positive because the negative is being included when you multiply because of the parentheses. All right, and then multiplication and division is last. What's 36 divided by -6?
I'll be -6, right?
Yep, so your answer should be -6 for that one. Good? Okay, go ahead and do the got it. So you should be doing the last two. So see if you can get it right by yourself. And then those two, and I'm going to move on and do a couple homework problems while you wait. Feel free to do that. I'm gonna go through them today, and then so probably I won't be here tomorrow, but so maybe like Monday during class we can fit it in. Yeah, I like to do it during class time, like after the lessons and stuff. You can just work on it, so you don't have to like miss lunch or whatever. All right, are we ready to go over these? We done? Okay. Okay, so for the first one, B is -2. A is 4. Make sure you're putting that squared after the parentheses, so just the number should have it around it, okay? Parentheses, we don't really have anything. Exponents, we do. What is 4 squared? 16, yep. Okay, multiplication and division. 3 times -2 is -6. And then addition and subtraction to finish it off. -22, right? Yeah.
Why would you add?
Because they're both negative, so they're both going in the same direction, kind of like one's going on top of the other one. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, and then for B, we have 2b squared. So 2b is -2 squared minus 7 times a, which is 4. Parentheses, we don't have anything inside of. Exponents, we have. What's -2 squared? 4. So we have 2 times 4 minus 7 times 4. Multiplication and division, 2 times 4 is 8, minus 7 times 4, which is 28. And then addition and subtraction, 8 minus 28 is -20. Any questions on that? Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you guys your lesson check problems. So for these, you are going to pull up here. Okay, so you're going to use x is 3 and y is 4. Okay. Okay, so you guys still have 5 minutes till the bell rings. So in like 3 minutes, I'll put the answers up, and then you guys will have a couple minutes to pack up and all that, okay? You might need a calculator for the second one. So go, you can use one for that. Alright guys, I'm going to put the answers up just so you have them. The first one, you should get 23 and 1,728 and then 0. I can look at yours if you want.